Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take source material, really dig in and give you the insights you need to be, truly well informed. Today, we are diving into some really fascinating excerpts from Swordsman's Legacy, a novel by Alex Archer. We've got notes here covering an archaeologist, a bit of a treasure hunter type.
Right.
Very shadowy corporation, and yeah, even whispers of a magical sword and some major historical figures.
It's quite a mix.
It is. So our mission today is to untangle this web adventure, ancient mysteries, and some frankly cutting-edge but pretty controversial science.
Yeah,
Get ready for some surprises.
definitely. This material, it presents a really intricate narrative. It weaves together these, historical quests with some really thorny modern ethical questions.
Yeah.
So we'll be pulling out the core threads, looking not just at what happens, but the deeper implications behind it all.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. Annja Creed, she's an archaeologist, hosts that TV show, Chasing History's Monsters.
Right, familiar face.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But she gets pulled into this real-life quest for the sword of D'Artagnan, the musketeer from Dumas.
Legend himself.
And it's not just any old sword. There were these rumors of hidden treasure tied to it. So what kicked this off for Annja? And who's this online contact? Ascher Vallois.
Well, Annja had been tracking these notations in Alexandre Dumas's own research journals from the 19th century.
Okay.
Specifically about a sword Queen Anne supposedly gifted to D'Artagnan way back in the 17th century. Now, Ascher, he presented himself as, let's say, a part-time archaeologist, also a fencing instructor.
Yeah.
He'd been chasing the sword's trail for years, and he believed he'd found its location, Chalon-sur-Saône. That was the hometown of D'Artagnan's ex-wife, Charlotte Anne de Chancy.
Interesting connection.
Right, and he reaches out to Annja because he found something at a dig site, an old Augustan convent site. It looked like the end of a wooden sword box.
So that was the hook.
That was the hook. That shared interest, it just escalated things very quickly into a partnership.
And when they actually meet in Chalon, it sounds pretty dramatic. Asher's this parkour guy, a fencer, very charming, adventurous. Annja apparently even saw a bit of D'Artagnan in him.
He definitely made an impression. Lots of charisma.
But Annja, being the archaeologist, she sensed something else too, right? Something maybe a bit off.
Absolutely. She pretty quickly pegged him as more of a, quote, glorified treasure hunter.
Ah, okay.
And that difference is key here. Annja's about the history, the people, following the rules. She actually makes Ascher promise that if they find the sword, it goes straight to the museum in Lupiac.
Good for her. But things didn't stay simple, did they? You mentioned a dark turn.
No, not at all. Almost right away, Annja and Ascher find themselves being chased by armed thugs.
Whoa! Okay, so not just friendly competition then.
Definitely not. And this is where it gets really intense. We find out Ascher had already paid a huge price for digging into this. He'd recently lost a kidney.
Lost a kidney? How?
It ties directly to this mysterious group that's after them, the BioHistorical Design Corporation, BHDC.
BHDC. Okay, BioHistorical Design Corporation. Led by a Jacques Lambert. What is this group? More than just artifact thieves.
Oh, much more. Lambert, he sees himself as a modern-day pirate. That's his term. He funds his company through plunder.
Plunder?
His first run-in with Ascher, it involved demanding the sword, and he actually said, when one acquires plunder, sir, one does not pay for it.
Chill.
And the kidney, Lambert had it taken from Ascher, surgically removed. He took Ascher's DNA too and promised to grow him a new one, called it life insurance.
Wait, grow a new one? So BHDC isn't just about stealing old stuff.
Exactly. That's the terrifying part. They have some serious and seriously disturbing scientific capabilities. This isn't just about treasure.
Okay, so what is their main business then? If it's not just collecting artifacts, this sounds way bigger.
It is, and this is where we get into the really ethically murky territory. And Annja eventually manages to infiltrate their Paris headquarters, and she discovers their horrifying agenda. They're doing therapeutic cloning, creating human organs for transplant.
Okay, therapeutic cloning. I mean, on the surface, potentially life-saving.
That's Lambert's justification. He talks about his twin brother, Toby, who died waiting for a liver transplant. He believes his work could end organ donor waiting lists entirely. His words were, no longer should there be a requirement for a list.
A noble goal, maybe? But the way they're going about it, Annja found something much darker, didn't she?
Much darker. The source material is pretty explicit. BHDC has crossed the line into actual human cloning.
Human cloning, you mean like whole people?
That seems to be the goal, or at least part of it. Annja finds these files. They detail implantation dates, in vitro successful, notes on embryonic and fetal development normal, leading up to a cesarean delivery.
Oh my God.
But the outcome is horrifying. These babies, they survived 68 minutes, died due to complications. It points to just how incredibly complex and flawed this process is, especially with current tech. You know, genetic defects, epigenetic problems.
It's failed experiments. Living beings.
Yes. And it gets worse. They're also actively trying to get DNA from historical figures, people like Marie Antoinette, Einstein.
Why?
To clone them for wealthy customers. Lambert talks about demand for these, quote, designer babies. He actually says people would be surprised by the market. It's turning human life into a product, an experiment.
That's beyond disturbing. And they're even tricking women into carrying these clones.
Yes. Annja meets a pregnant woman connected to BHDC. The woman thinks she's getting legitimate fertility help. She has no idea she might be essentially an incubator for a clone. It shows just how insidious and deceptive their whole operation is.
Okay, let's pause on the horror for a second. Amidst all this, Annja and Ascher did manage to get the sword right.
Yeah.
D'Artagnan's rapier.
They did. They secured the sword.
And the legend was true. About something hidden inside.
It was. Tucked inside the hilt, just like the story said, was a tightly rolled map.
So the quest shifts. Now it's about the map, the treasure.
Exactly. The focus moves from just finding the sword to figuring out this map and locating whatever treasure it points to. And this map, Annja notes, is incredibly old, very fragile.
And there was a problem with it.
A big one. A corner was missing, made it seem almost impossible to use for navigation. They first guessed it might show the aqueducts under the Louvre, maybe the catacombs near Les Innocents. It definitely pointed them towards the Paris underground.
The Paris underground. That's a maze down there. How do you navigate that with an incomplete map?
Well, this is where Annja has a real moment of brilliance. She realizes the key wasn't missing entirely. It was right there, attached to the sword all along.
What do you mean?
The pommel, the decorative cap on the very end of the hilt, it had the Batz-Castlemore coat of arms on it.
Okay.
That pommel was the missing piece. It functioned like a compass rose, aligning perfectly with the lines on the map.
No way. That's ingenious.
It really is. It shows how much thought Queen Anne must have put into this gift. And the map itself, likely drawn by Francois Monsard.
The architect.
The very one. 17th century architect of the Val-de-Grâce Cathedral. Building that gave him detailed knowledge of all the tunnels underneath Paris.
Wow. So, okay, map, compass, pommel, they follow it through the catacombs, all those bones. Utility tunnels, where does X mark the spot? What's the big treasure? Gold, jewels.
This part is, well, it's almost funny in a dark historical way. The X leads them to this small hidden room, and the treasure, it's a small wooden box.
A box. What's in it?
Nothing. It's empty, painted white, lined with relatively new-looking red velvet, and carved around the rim is "Que pour un, on pour tout."
All for one for all. Dumas' musketeer motto.
Exactly. Annja figures it out pretty quickly. This isn't some 17th century treasure chest. It's a 19th century promotional item, a tie-in for Dumas' novel, The Three Musketeers.
You're kidding. The entire treasure hunt leads to a book promo.
Pretty much. A literary prank reaching across time.
Who would do that? Dumas himself.
Possibly Dumas, or maybe his famous collaborator, Auguste Maquet. The text mentions Maquet, despite often getting shortchanged by Dumas, actually died a rich man.
So maybe Maquet found the real treasure.
And decided to leave this symbolic one behind. A little wink to future adventurers. It seems plausible.
That's incredible. But for Lambert, for BHDC, finding an empty promo box instead of treasure, that must have been devastating. He needed funds, right?
A huge blow. He was counting on that treasure to finance his morally questionable experiments. This hoax really throws a wrench in his plans.
Okay, so as we're wrapping up this deep dive, things get intensely personal for Annja. You mentioned her friend Rue earlier. This guy who seems ancient, connected to Joan of Arc.
Yes, Rue, a very enigmatic figure.
Lambert reveals Rue visited BHDC, and he brought samples for DNA testing.
He did. He brought two things. First, a piece of chainmail he claimed belonged to Joan of Arc.
Joan of Arc's chainmail. Okay.
And second, a modern sample, which turned out to be a strand of Annja's hair.
Whoa. Why would Rue do that?
Well,
and what did BHDC find?
This is where it gets really wild.
Yeah.
Lambert reveals his geneticist compared Annja's mitochondrial DNA, that's the DNA passed down only from mother to child, against DNA extracted from that chain mail sample, supposedly Joan's. And it was a match, a direct maternal link.
So Annja is a direct descendant of Joan of Arc.
According to Lambert's results, yes. She didn't just inherit Joan's sword, which she already possesses mysteriously.
Yeah, that sword that just appears and disappears.
Exactly. Lambert calls that magic, but connects it to destiny. He implies Annja isn't just a descendant. He asks, is she? Suggesting maybe reincarnation, or that she embodies Joan's spirit somehow.
Wow, that reframes everything. Her connection to the sword, her opposition to Lambert.
It absolutely does. Lambert himself is obsessed with destiny, largely because of his brother's death. He sees parallels. He believes he is destined to cure the sick through his cloning.
Fifth logic, but okay.
And he argues Annja was destined to gain Joan of Arc's sword, to fight opposition with it. So their conflict becomes this clash of opposing destinies, opposing views on science and morality. Annja, the heir to historical legacy, versus Lambert trying to force a new future through forbidden science.
Which leads to the final confrontation. Annja faces Lambert, calls him out on the horrific experiments, the madman vision of worker drones, designer babies.
Right. He tries to justify it, talking about helping people, ending suffering. But Annja exposes the reality. The goal is control, power, funded by plunder.
And she really lays into the human cost, doesn't she?
She does.
Yeah.
She tells him his research just gives false hope and has actively destroyed life in pursuit of something non-essential. She points to the tragic fate of those cloned babies. They died naturally, sure, but she implies it was because of the genetic defects introduced through your incomplete and fallible cloning process.
Hits him right where it hurts his scientific failure.
Exactly. And in the end, Lambert dies from his injuries as the BHDC facility burns. He claims he has backups of his research, of course.
Always the backups. But Annja is left with this huge moral question about that pregnant woman, the one carrying the clone unknowingly. What does she do?
It's a really tough decision. Annja goes to the hospital. The woman gives birth to a healthy baby girl.
And Annja knows the baby's origins.
She knows it's likely a product of BHDC's illegal cloning. But she chooses silence. She doesn't tell the doctors, doesn't tell the new parents.
Why?
She decides that, in this case, not knowing this truth was best for everyone involved. Her priority becomes giving that baby a chance at a normal life, a loving family, rather than revealing a potentially devastating, horrifying truth. It really underscores the ethical nightmare these kinds of unregulated scientific leaps can create. Where do you draw the line? Is it playing God? And it leaves you, the listener, thinking, what responsibility comes with knowing too much? When does the pursuit of truth clash with protecting innocence? And who gets to decide?